My golden child sister destroyed my phone because I didn't buy her one too, so I sold her MacBook, and she still hasn't noticed. I'm 16. My sister is 14. She already has a car. I take the bus. That tells you everything about our family dynamic, but let me paint the full picture. My parents wanted a girl. Got me instead, a failed termination who survived out of spite. 2 years later, they got their princess. Since then, I've been furniture with a pulse while she's been their entire universe. On my birthdays, she got presents too, so she doesn't feel left out. On her birthdays, I got nothing. You're mature enough to understand. When Avengers Endgame came out on my 12th birthday, we saw the Lego movie because she wanted to. When her favorite singer came to town on my graduation day, guess where my parents were? Not at my graduation. The moment I gave up hope was 2 years ago. Middle school graduation. I scanned the crowd for my parents through the entire ceremony. They were at a museum with my sister because she really wanted to go that day. That night, something in me died, or maybe something was born, the realization that I was alone and always would be. I got a job at 14, been saving since. My sister has Gucci bags, designer everything, the latest MacBook she never uses. But I had one thing she didn't. The newest iPhone, bought with my own money after 18 months of saving. I'd had it for exactly 1 day when she found out. Why do you get the new phone when I'm stuck with this piece of trash? She held up her iPhone 13 like it was radioactive. Because I worked for it. You should have bought me one too. With what money? The money I earned? She went straight to our mother. 5 minutes later, Mom was in my room. Family buys things for each other. Really? Then where's my car? She got one at 13. That's different. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a job because you buy her everything. The argument lasted a week. Every meal, every passing in the hallway, constant demands that I buy my sister a phone. Then she made the threat, buy me a phone or I'll smash yours. I laughed. Even she wasn't that entitled. I woke up Saturday to an empty nightstand and the sound of metal on glass. Downstairs, my sister stood at the kitchen table with a hammer, reducing my phone to glitter and fragments. She looked up when I walked in, smiled, and brought the hammer down one more time. Oops, that was an accident. Should have bought me a phone. I picked up the pieces. The screen was powder. The frame was bent beyond recognition. 18 months of work in scattered pieces on my mother's granite countertop. When my parents came home, my sister's story was ready. I dropped it. They didn't even question it. Phones break, my father said. That's life. That night, I took her MacBook, the one she'd used maybe twice since Christmas, listed it online for $200 below retail, sold it in 12 hours to a college student who couldn't believe her luck. The beautiful thing? It's been a week. She hasn't noticed. I took the money to a repair shop. The technician whistled when he saw my phone. What happened? Run it over with a truck. Something like that. I can fix it, but it'll take time. And money. I paid him with the MacBook money. Almost exactly what I'd paid for the phone originally. Poetic justice with a receipt. My phone works again. Not perfect. There's a crack she couldn't quite smash out, but it turns on. It texts. It reminds me that I won. Yesterday at dinner, my sister mentioned maybe getting a job. To buy stuff I want, she said, not looking at me. Good idea, I said. Maybe start by checking if you still have things to sell, like that MacBook you never use. She laughed. Yeah, right, like I'd sell that. I smiled and kept eating. It's been 2 weeks now. The MacBook is gone. Some kid in Connecticut is using it for college. My sister still hasn't looked for it. That's how little she values what she has. She doesn't even know when it's gone. My parents asked why I've been smiling more lately. Just enjoying what I've earned, I told them. They had no idea how true that was. 3 weeks after selling the MacBook, I'm stacking boxes in the back room when William walks in. He leans against the doorframe and watches me work for a second. Then he asks why I've been so happy lately, like actually happy instead of just okay. I tell him work is going well, which is true. I've been getting more hours and the paychecks are bigger, but that's not the real reason and we both know it. He doesn't push though, just nods and helps me finish the stack. William is cool like that. Doesn't make everything into a big deal. We head back to the floor and start restocking shelves together. He mentions his younger sister Ashlyn just started high school a few weeks ago. Already she's asking for designer bags and expensive shoes, stuff she sees other girls wearing. I feel my chest tighten a little because I know where this is going. But then William says his parents told her to get a job if she wants that stuff. They're not buying it for her. She can earn it herself or go without. I stack cans on the shelf and try to imagine my parents saying that to my sister. Can't picture it. William's family sounds so normal it almost hurts to hear about. His parents treat him and Ashlyn the same way, expect the same things from both of them. Nobody gets special treatment just for being younger or for being the favorite. I tell William that sounds nice and he shrugs like it's no big deal. To him it probably isn't because that's just how things are at his house. That night at dinner, my sister brings up jobs again. She says she's been looking at listings online but hasn't applied anywhere yet. My mom smiles and tells her how proud she is that my sister is taking initiative. My dad agrees and says it shows real maturity. I keep eating my chicken and don't say anything. Nobody mentions that I've had a job for 2 years already. Nobody asks how my work is going or if I need more hours. The conversation stays focused on my sister and her maybe possibly thinking about getting a job someday. I think about that MacBook sitting in some college dorm in Connecticut. Some kid named Jesse is probably using it right now to write a paper or watch videos. My sister has no idea it's gone. She talks about wanting to buy her own stuff like it's a brand new concept she just invented. My phone buzzes with a text and I pull it out to check. My sister glances over at it from across the table. Her eyes catch on the crack running across the screen, that jagged line she couldn't quite smash out with her hammer. She looks away fast, but I saw her see it. That crack is always there, always visible, always reminding both of us what happened. I put my phone back in my pocket and go back to eating. My parents are still praising my sister for browsing job websites. The whole thing would be funny if it wasn't so typical. After dinner, I head upstairs to start homework, but I hear my parents talking in the kitchen. I stop at the top of the stairs and listen. My mom is telling my dad how mature my sister is becoming. She says considering employment at 14 shows real growth and responsibility. My dad agrees and adds that maybe this job thing will teach her the value of money. I stand there holding my backpack and wait for one of them to mention me. Wait for someone to say, hey, our son has been working since he was 14. Wait for any kind of recognition that I exist and have been doing this exact thing for 2 years. Nothing comes. The conversation moves on to what my sister might want to buy with her first paycheck. I go to my room and close the door. At the school the next day, my guidance counselor pulls me aside between classes. She's holding a folder with my name on it, and her face has that concerned adult look. She says my grades have been slipping in 2 classes, math and English. Asks if I know why my homework completion has dropped. I shift my backpack on my shoulder and try to think of what to say. The truth is, I've been so focused on the MacBook situation that homework stopped mattering as much. Watching my sister not notice, waiting for the moment she finally looks for it, that's been taking up space in my head. But I can't tell the counselor that. She asks if everything is okay at home, and I give her the standard answer. Fine. Everything's fine. Adults always accept that answer because they don't really want to know the truth anyway. She reminds me that junior year grades matter for college applications. Says I need to get back on track if I want good options next year. I promise I'll do better and she lets me go. I head to class thinking about how nobody at home cares about my grades, but this counselor I barely know is worried about my future. That weekend, my sister finds me in the living room doing homework. She asks if she can borrow my laptop for a school project, says hers isn't working right. I look up from my history textbook and tell her my laptop is old and slow, probably won't help much with her project. Then I suggest she use her MacBook instead. I watch her face carefully when I say it. She rolls her eyes and says her MacBook is in her room, but she doesn't feel like going upstairs to get it, just wants to use mine since I'm down here anyway. I tell her no, my laptop has all my stuff on it and I need it for my own work. She huffs and leaves the room. I sit there processing what just happened. She genuinely believes the MacBook is still in her room. Hasn't actually looked for it in weeks, maybe a month now. It's been gone for 3 weeks and she has no idea. That's how little she values what she has. Things just exist in her world until she needs them, and if she doesn't need them, she doesn't think about them. The MacBook could be gone for months and she wouldn't notice until she actually wanted to use it. On Sunday, William invites me over after our shift ends. Says his family is having people over for dinner and I should come. I almost say no because meeting someone's family feels weird, but then I think about going home to my house and I say yes instead. William's house is smaller than mine, but it feels warmer somehow. His parents are in the kitchen when we walk in. His mom, Susan, comes over and introduces herself, shakes my hand like I'm an actual person worth meeting. His dad, Ralph, is at the stove cooking something that smells amazing. Ashlyn is setting the table and she waves at me. They all treat William normally, like he matters but isn't the center of the universe. They joke with him and tease him, but it's friendly, not mean. When Ashlyn complains about wanting new shoes, Ralph laughs and hands her a job application for the ice cream shop down the street. She rolls her eyes but takes it and everyone just moves on. No drama, no yelling, no favorites, just a normal family doing normal family things. I sit at their dinner table and watch them interact and something in my chest hurts. This is what it's supposed to look like. Parents who treat their kids fairly. Siblings who annoy each other but don't destroy each other's stuff. A house where everyone matters the same amount. I eat the food Ralph made and answer questions Susan asks about school and work. William's family makes me feel welcome in a way my own family never has. When dinner is over and I have to go home, I thank them for having me. Susan tells me I'm welcome back anytime and she sounds like she means it. I walk home in the dark thinking about the difference between their house and mine. Thinking about how some people get normal families and some people get what I got. Thinking about that MacBook still sitting in Connecticut while my sister sits at home believing it's in her room. The satisfaction from selling it has faded some, but it's been replaced by something else. Not quite guilt, but not quite pride either. Just this weird feeling that I did something that can't be undone, and now I'm waiting to see what happens next. Before I leave William's house that night, I watch Ashlyn complain one more time about needing new shoes for some school event. Ralph laughs and walks over to a drawer in the kitchen, pulls out a folded paper and hands it to her. It's a job application for the ice cream shop 2 blocks from their house. Ashlyn rolls her eyes hard enough that I think they might get stuck, but she takes the paper and folds it into her pocket. Susan asks what flavor she'd want to try first if she got hired, and just like that, everyone moves on to talking about ice cream. No yelling, no drama, no one getting mad, just normal family stuff that feels weird to watch because it's so different from my house. I thank them again for dinner and head home, thinking about how Ralph just handed her that application like it was no big deal, like working for what you want is just normal and expected. When I get home, my house is quiet. My sister is in her room with her door closed. My parents are watching something on TV. I go upstairs and do homework until I fall asleep. On Monday, I wake up for school and everything seems normal at first. I eat breakfast alone because my sister sleeps late and my parents already left for work. I take the bus and sit through my morning classes without anything interesting happening. But when I get home that afternoon and walk upstairs, I hear something strange coming from my sister's room. Drawers opening and closing, things being moved around, the sound of hangers scraping across the closet rod. I stop in the hallway and listen. She's tearing her room apart looking for something. I go into my own room and sit at my desk, pull out my homework and try to focus on math problems while the sounds continue next door. More drawers, her closet door opening and closing, something heavy being dragged across the floor. She's checking under her bed now based on the sounds. I keep my eyes on my homework and wait. My door opens without a knock. My sister stands there looking frustrated and a little worried. Her hair is messy from crawling around her room. She asks if I've seen her MacBook anywhere. I look up from my math homework like this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I tell her no, I haven't seen it. She asks if I'm sure, if maybe I borrowed it or moved it or something. I remind her that I have my own laptop and I don't touch her stuff. This is technically true because I only touched the MacBook that one time when I took it to sell it. She stands in my doorway for another few seconds like she's trying to decide if she believes me, then goes back to her room. I hear her opening the same drawers again, checking places she already checked. Desperation makes people repeat themselves. 20 minutes later, I hear my mother's car pull into the driveway. My sister must hear it too because she runs downstairs immediately. I stay at my desk, but I can hear them talking in the kitchen. My sister explains that her MacBook is missing, and she's looked everywhere. My mother's voice gets that concerned tone she uses when my sister has a problem. I hear them both come upstairs together. They go into my sister's room and the searching starts all over again, but now it's 2 people instead of 1. My mother checks the closet thoroughly, moving shoes and boxes. She looks under the bed even though my sister already did. She checks behind the dresser and under piles of clothes. I stand in my doorway and watch them go through everything twice. My mother is getting more frustrated with each failed spot. She asks my sister when she last used it, and my sister admits she can't remember exactly. My mother's face does this thing where I can tell she's thinking something, but not saying it yet. At dinner, my father is already sitting at the table when my sister makes her announcement. She says her MacBook is missing and someone must have taken it. Her voice has this accusatory tone like she already knows who did it but won't say. My father asks the same question my mother asked earlier, about when she last used it. My sister thinks for a minute and says she's not totally sure, maybe a few weeks ago for a school project. My father raises his eyebrows at this. A few weeks and she just noticed today. He doesn't say that part out loud, but I can tell he's thinking it. My mother is watching me from across the table. I keep eating my food and stay quiet. I wait until the silence gets uncomfortable. Then I suggest maybe she left it at the school, or maybe at a friend's house. I keep my voice helpful and neutral, like I'm just trying to solve the problem. My parents immediately latch onto this idea. My father says that makes sense, that she probably took it somewhere and forgot. My mother tells my sister to check with her friends tomorrow and ask at the school. My sister looks at me while they're saying this, her eyes narrow and suspicious, but she doesn't argue with them. She just nods and says she'll check tomorrow. The rest of dinner is quiet except for the sound of forks on plates. The next day after school, my sister comes home, and I can tell from the way she walks in the door that she didn't find it. She drops her backpack hard on the floor and goes straight to the kitchen where my mother is starting dinner. I'm in the living room supposedly doing homework, but really I'm listening. My sister's voice is upset when she tells my mother that the MacBook isn't at the school and none of her friends have it. She checked with everyone and looked in her locker and asked the front office if anyone turned anything in. Nothing. My mother stops chopping vegetables and I can't see her face from where I'm sitting, but I hear the shift in her voice when she speaks again. It's different now, less concerned and more suspicious. She asks my sister if she's absolutely sure she didn't leave it somewhere else. My sister insists she's looked everywhere she can think of. My mother comes into the living room where I'm sitting. She stands in front of the TV and looks right at me. She asks directly if I know anything about the missing MacBook. Her voice isn't angry yet, but it's heading that direction. I look up from my homework and meet her eyes. I tell her no, I don't know where it is. This is technically true because I don't know Jesse Callahan's exact dorm address in Connecticut. I know he's a college student and I know what state he lives in, but I don't know the specific building or room number. My mother watches my face for a few more seconds, trying to figure out if I'm lying. I keep my expression neutral and concerned, like I'm also worried about the missing MacBook. She finally looks away and goes back to the kitchen. That night after dinner, my father suggests we all look through the house together as a family. He says sometimes things end up in weird places, and an extra set of eyes helps. My sister shoots me another suspicious look, but agrees. We spend the next hour searching the house room by room. We check the living room, looking behind couch cushions and under furniture. We check the kitchen cabinets for some reason, like the MacBook might be hiding behind the cereal boxes. We look in the garage, in the laundry room, in the bathroom closets. We check my parents' bedroom and my room and the guest room that nobody uses. My sister's room gets searched for the third time. I participate in all of this, helping move furniture and checking shelves, acting just as confused as everyone else about where it could be. The MacBook has never been in any of these places, but we look anyway. After an hour, my father says we've done all we can, and maybe it'll turn up eventually. My sister looks defeated and angry at the same time. My mother still has that suspicious expression. That night, I'm in my room with the door closed when I hear my parents' voices coming from their bedroom down the hall. They're trying to be quiet, but the house is silent enough that sound carries. I open my door a crack and listen. My father's voice says something about how ridiculous it would be if one of us kids sold it. My mother's voice responds, but I can't hear exactly what she says. Her tone is uncertain, though, not convinced. My father says something else, and my mother's voice gets a little louder, asking what if someone did sell it. My father insists that's crazy, that neither of us would do that. My mother goes quiet for a minute and then says something I can't quite hear. They keep talking, but their voices drop too low for me to make out the words. I close my door and get into bed. The MacBook is gone, and there's no way to prove I took it. My sister destroyed my phone, and my parents believed her lie. Now her MacBook is missing, and they're starting to wonder if someone in this house isn't telling the truth. I turn off my light and stare at the ceiling in the dark, listening to the muffled sound of my parents still talking in their room, and I think about how sometimes karma takes a while, but it always shows up eventually. At work the next day, I'm restocking shelves in the electronics section when Ralph walks over. He's the store manager, and he's worked here for like 15 years. He stops next to me and picks up one of the phone cases I'm organizing. He turns it over in his hands and then looks at me. He asks if everything is okay because I seem distracted. I tell him things are tense at home right now. He nods and puts the phone case back on the shelf. He says his wife Susan works as a family counselor, and she sees this kind of stuff all the time. Siblings fighting over things, parents not knowing how to handle it. He tells me sometimes families need someone from outside to help them talk to each other better. I thank him and say I'll think about it. He pats my shoulder and walks away to help a customer. I finish stocking the shelves, but I'm thinking about what he said. The idea of my family sitting in some counselor's office talking about feelings seems impossible. When I get home that afternoon, my sister is waiting in the kitchen. She doesn't say anything when I walk in. She just watches me put my work bag down and get a glass of water. I can feel her eyes following me across the room. I turn around and ask what she wants. She says nothing and walks away. This becomes the new normal over the next few days. She watches me constantly. She follows me from room to room. When I'm in my bedroom doing homework, she walks past my door multiple times. When I'm eating breakfast, she sits across from me and stares. When I leave for work, she's at the window watching me walk to the bus stop. I check my room when I get home and I can tell she's been in there. My drawers are slightly open. My closet door isn't closed all the way. She's looking for something, but she won't find anything because there's nothing to find. A week goes by like this. The tension in the house gets worse every day. My sister barely talks to anyone. My mother keeps asking if we've looked everywhere for the MacBook. My father suggests maybe someone broke in and stole it. Nobody believes this, but nobody has a better explanation. Then on Friday afternoon, I come home from the school, and there's a police car in the driveway. My stomach drops. I walk inside, and my sister is sitting at the dining room table with a police officer. My mother is standing next to her. The officer is writing something in a notebook. My sister is telling him about the MacBook, when it went missing, how much it cost, where she last remembers seeing it. The officer nods and keeps writing. He looks up when I walk in. My mother introduces me as her son. The officer asks if I know anything about a missing laptop. I say no, and my voice sounds normal even though my heart is beating fast. He writes something else down and closes his notebook. The officer stands up and tells my sister he'll file the report. He says these things usually turn up eventually. He sounds like he doesn't really believe the MacBook was stolen. He sounds like he thinks my sister just lost it somewhere and forgot. He tells her to check with her friends again and look around school. My sister says she already did that. The officer shrugs and says to call if it shows up. He leaves and my mother closes the door behind him. She turns around and looks at both of us. My sister is crying now, real tears running down her face. My mother puts her arm around her. She tells my sister it'll be okay. Then she says we're both grounded until the MacBook turns up. I stare at her. I ask what that means. She says no going out, no friends over, no activities, just school and home. I point out that I have a job. She hesitates and then says, fine, I can go to work, but that's it. My sister stops crying long enough to smile at this. She thinks we're both being punished equally. Being grounded means nothing to me. I never went anywhere anyway. I go to the school and I go to work and I come home. That's been my life for 2 years. But my sister is furious. She has plans this weekend. She was supposed to go to some party. She was supposed to hang out with her friends at the mall. Now she can't do any of it. She blames me somehow. She corners me in the hallway that night and says this is my fault. If I'd helped her look for the MacBook, we wouldn't be grounded. I ask how it's my fault that she lost her stuff. She gets right in my face and says, I know something. I can see it in how I act. I tell her she's being crazy and walk away. She yells after me that she's going to figure out what I did. At the school on Monday, I'm sitting in the cafeteria during lunch. I usually sit alone, but today Skylar Fontana sits down across from me. We have English class together, but we've never really talked. She opens her lunch and asks if I heard about her brother. I say no. She tells me her older brother is 17 and her younger brother is 12. Her parents treat her older brother like garbage. He has to do all the chores and pay for his own stuff. Her younger brother gets everything handed to him. New games, new clothes, whatever he wants. She says it's been like this their whole lives. I tell her my family is the same way. My sister gets everything. I get nothing. We spend the rest of lunch talking about our families. It feels good to talk to someone who understands. Someone who knows what it's like to be the kid nobody cares about. The next day, Skylar sits with me again. We talk about school and work and regular stuff. Then she asks why I don't just move out when I turn 18. I stop eating and think about this. I've never seriously considered it before. I've been so focused on getting through each day that I haven't planned past that. I haven't thought about what happens when I'm legally an adult. Where I would go. What I would do. She says her brother is already looking at apartments. He has money saved up from his job. He's planning to leave the day after graduation. I realize I should be doing the same thing. I should be planning my escape instead of just surviving. Skylar gives me some websites where her brother found apartment listings. She says I should start looking now so I have a plan ready. That weekend, William texts me and asks if I want to come over. I haven't seen him outside of work in a while. I tell my mother I'm going to a coworker's house, and she says fine as long as I'm back by dinner. I take the bus to William's neighborhood. His house is nice. Not huge, but clean and normal looking. He answers the door and lets me in. His mom is in the kitchen making cookies. William introduces me and she smiles. Her name is Susan. She's the family counselor Ralph mentioned. She asks how I'm doing, and there's something about the way she asks that makes it feel like a real question. Not just something adults say. She wipes her hands on a towel and sits down at the kitchen table. She tells me to sit too. William sits next to me. Susan asks about my family in this gentle way that makes me want to tell the truth. I start talking, and once I start, I can't stop. I tell her about my sister getting everything, about my parents forgetting my graduation, about working since I was 14 while my sister gets handed designer bags, about my phone getting smashed and nobody caring. Susan listens to all of it without interrupting. When I finish, she's quiet for a minute. Then she asks how that makes me feel. I tell her it makes me feel invisible. Like I don't matter. Like I could disappear and nobody would notice. She nods like she understands. She asks if I've ever talked to my parents about this. I laugh and say they don't listen. She says sometimes parents don't realize what they're doing until someone points it out clearly. William gets up to check on the cookies. Susan leans forward and tells me that I deserve to be seen and heard. She says what my family is doing isn't okay, but she also says I need to decide what I want. Do I want to fix things with my family, or do I want to leave when I turn 18? Both are valid choices. I tell her I don't know yet. She says that's okay. She gives me her card and tells me to call if I ever need to talk. I put the card in my pocket and it feels like a lifeline. William brings the cookies over and sets the plate on the table between us. Susan takes one and bites into it while watching me with those calm counselor eyes. I realize I want to tell her everything, the whole truth about what I did and why. The words start coming out before I can stop them. I tell her about selling my sister's MacBook to pay for my phone repair. I tell her about listing it online and meeting the college student who bought it. I tell her about taking the money to the repair shop and feeling like I'd finally won something. William's eyes go wide and he stops chewing his cookie. Susan just nods slowly and keeps listening like she's waiting for me to finish the whole story. When I'm done talking, the kitchen is quiet except for the clock ticking on the wall. Susan wipes cookie crumbs off her hands and leans forward a little. She asks how I felt when my sister destroyed my phone with the hammer. I describe working for 18 months to save up the money, getting my first paycheck and putting most of it in my savings account, watching the balance grow so slowly that some weeks I wanted to give up, finally having enough and going to the store and buying the phone myself, holding it in my hands and feeling proud because I earned it. Then waking up to the sound of metal hitting glass and running downstairs to see my sister smashing it into pieces, watching 18 months of work turn into broken glass and bent metal on the kitchen counter. My parents coming home and believing her lie that I dropped it, nobody caring that I lost something I worked so hard for. Susan nods again and asks what I hoped would happen by selling the MacBook. I admit I wanted my sister to feel what I felt, to lose something and have nobody care, to search for it and realize it's gone forever, to understand that things you don't value can disappear. But I also knew she barely used the MacBook anyway, so maybe she wouldn't even notice. Maybe that would prove my point even more. Susan doesn't look mad or disappointed. She asks if the revenge actually made things better or just created different problems. I sit there thinking about this. The first few days after selling it felt amazing. Every time I used my repaired phone, I remembered that I'd fought back, but lately the satisfaction has been fading. My sister is suspicious and watching me constantly. My parents grounded both of us, which doesn't affect me much, but created more tension. The house feels like a pressure cooker ready to explode. I tell Susan that maybe it didn't make things better. Maybe it just made things different in a bad way. William suddenly speaks up and suggests I could return the MacBook somehow. Send it back anonymously or something. I shake my head and explain it's already sold to someone in Connecticut. Some college student is using it right now for her classes. That option is completely gone. There's no way to undo what I did. Susan is quiet for a minute, and then she says something that hits me hard. She says I need to decide what kind of person I want to be. Not based on how my family treats me, but based on who I actually am inside. She says when I let their dysfunction control my choices, I'm giving them power over my future. She says I can't control what my parents do or how they treat me and my sister differently. But I can control how I respond. I can choose to be better than the situation. Or I can choose to stay trapped in the same toxic patterns. I leave William's house an hour later feeling confused and guilty in a way I didn't before. The revenge felt completely justified when I did it. My sister destroyed my phone on purpose and nobody cared. Taking her MacBook seemed like fair payback. But Susan's questions made me see it differently. Now I'm stuck in this situation where my family is fighting and suspicious, and I can't undo what I did. The MacBook is gone. My sister will eventually figure out I took it. And then what happens? I take the bus home and walk into the house around 6. My parents are in the living room watching TV. They barely look up when I come in. I go upstairs to my room and sit on my bed staring at my phone. The crack across the screen reminds me why I did what I did, but it also reminds me that I'm trapped now. I can't take it back. Around 9 that night, my sister appears in my doorway. She doesn't knock. She just stands there looking at me with this expression I've never seen before. Her voice cracks when she speaks and she accuses me directly of taking her MacBook. Not asking, accusing. She says she knows I did it and she wants to know why. I can see she's actually upset beyond just losing something expensive. Her eyes are red like she's been crying. Her hands are shaking a little. This isn't the bratty, entitled sister who smashed my phone with a smile. This is someone who's genuinely hurt. I ask her why she destroyed my phone. Really destroyed it when she could have just complained to our parents like always. She's silent for a long time. The house is quiet around us. Finally, she says she was angry that I had something nice that she didn't have. I point out she has tons of nice things. Designer bags and clothes and a car. She shakes her head and says it's not the same. Our parents buy her everything, so nothing feels special. But I earned my phone myself. I worked for it. And that made her mad because she can't do that. She admits our parents would have bought her the same phone if she'd asked. They would have given her anything. But it bothered her that I got mine independently. That I had something I earned while everything she owns was just handed to her. She wanted to prove I couldn't have anything she didn't have. She wanted to take away the one thing that made me different from her. I stare at my sister standing in my doorway and realize we're both trapped. She's trapped by getting everything without earning it. I'm trapped by getting nothing no matter how hard I work. And neither of us knows how to break out of it. I take a breath and the words come out before I can stop them. I tell her I sold her MacBook to fix my phone, and I'm not sorry because she's never been sorry for anything she's done to me. Her face goes white. She opens her mouth, but nothing comes out for a few seconds. Then she starts crying, and these aren't the fake tears she uses on our parents. Her whole body shakes. She says she didn't think I'd actually fight back. She thought I'd just accept it like I accept everything else our parents do to me. She wipes her face with her sleeve and keeps crying. I stand there watching her fall apart, and I don't feel satisfied like I thought I would. I just feel tired. My mother's voice cuts through the moment. She's standing in the hallway and her face looks shocked and angry, but I can't tell which one of us the anger is pointed at. She must have been walking past my room and heard everything. My sister turns and sees her and cries harder. My father appears behind my mother a second later. They both stand there in the hallway staring at us. The house is completely quiet except for my sister's crying. My mother's voice is tight when she asks if it's true. Did I really sell the MacBook? I look right at her and say yes. My father's face gets red. He starts to say I had no right to take her property. But my mother puts her hand on his arm and he stops talking. She looks back and forth between my sister and me with an expression I've never seen before. Something like confusion mixed with guilt. She asks my sister if she really destroyed my phone on purpose. My sister nods and keeps crying. My mother asks why. My sister says she was jealous and she knew she could get away with it. The hallway goes silent again. My father shifts his weight and looks at the floor. Then he says we all need to sit down and talk. Actually talk. Which has never happened in our family. We go downstairs to the living room. My parents sit on the couch. My sister sits in the chair by the window. I sit in the other chair. Nobody looks at anyone else for a minute. Then my father says someone needs to start explaining. So I do. I explain the whole thing from the beginning. 18 months of saving money from my job. Finally buying the phone I wanted. My sister demanding I buy her one too. The argument that lasted a week. Coming downstairs that Saturday morning to find her smashing my phone with a hammer, the way she smiled when she did it. How our parents came home and didn't question her story that I dropped it. How Dad said phones break and that's life. I explained taking her MacBook that night, listing it online, selling it to a college student in Connecticut, using the money to repair my phone, the crack that's still there because she destroyed it so completely. My mother's face gets paler as I talk. My father looks uncomfortable, but he doesn't interrupt. My sister sits in her chair, crying quietly. When I finish explaining the phone situation, I keep going. I tell them about middle school graduation when they took my sister to a museum instead, about my 12th birthday when we saw the movie she wanted, about my high school graduation day when they went to her concert, about every birthday where she got presents so she wouldn't feel left out, but I got nothing because I should be mature enough to understand. I list every car ride to the school she got while I took the bus, every designer bag and piece of clothing she got handed to her while I worked for everything I own. Years of being furniture in this house, years of being invisible. My sister looks up at me and I can see she's hearing some of this for the first time. She didn't notice because why would she? She was too busy being the center of everything. My mother's eyes are wet now. She says she's been easier on my sister because she was the baby. Because she was the daughter Mom wanted after having me. She says she didn't realize how far the favoritism had gone. My father looks at the carpet and doesn't deny any of it. The next morning, my sister knocks on my door before I leave for work. She stands in the hallway looking smaller than usual and asks if we can talk. I tell her I have 10 minutes before my bus comes. She sits on my bed and twists her hands together and says she's sorry for destroying my phone. The words sound real, not like the fake apologies she gives our parents when she wants something. She says she'll pay me back once she gets a job, even though we both know that will take months of saving. I sit at my desk and look at her and realize this is the first time she's ever really apologized to me for anything. She says she didn't understand how hard I worked for that phone until she heard me explain it last night. I tell her I'll pay for a used MacBook to replace the one I sold, but it won't be the newest model. She nods and says that's fair. She never used the expensive one anyway. Our parents agree to the plan when we tell them at breakfast, and my mother looks relieved that we're trying to fix things. At work on Monday, Ralph asks how things went over the weekend, and I tell him about the family meeting. He listens while restocking shelves and says his wife Susan mentioned some good options for refurbished laptops. He pulls out his phone and shows me a website where a MacBook is listed for $400. I do the math in my head and realize it'll take 2 months of saving to afford it. Ralph says that's reasonable and shows me how to contact the seller. My sister actually follows through on getting a job, filling out an application at the ice cream shop where William's sister Ashlyn applied last month. She gets hired within a week, and our parents make her agree to save half of every paycheck. She complains about this, but she does it, opening a savings account with our mother's help. Things at home feel different in small ways. My parents ask about my day at dinner instead of just talking to my sister. They notice when I'm not home and ask where I've been. My mother checks my homework and reminds me about upcoming tests. It feels awkward and forced at first, like they're trying too hard. But I can tell they're actually trying. My sister and I aren't suddenly best friends or anything close to it. We still barely talk most days, but we're not enemies anymore either. She comes home from her second week of work and shows me her first real paycheck with this shy, proud look on her face. I remember that exact feeling from when I got my first paycheck 2 years ago, the way it felt like proof that I could do something on my own. I tell her good job and she smiles and goes to her room. Small moments like that happen more often. She asks to borrow my charger and actually returns it. I help her with math homework without her demanding it. We exist in the same house without constant tension for the first time in years. 3 months pass faster than I expected. I save enough money for the refurbished MacBook and order it through the website Ralph showed me. It arrives in a plain brown box and I bring it to my sister's room one Saturday afternoon. She opens the box carefully and pulls out the laptop and thanks me. She admits she never used the old one much anyway, was just upset about losing something expensive. I tell her I get it now, that feeling of having something taken without permission. She looks at me and nods, and we understand each other a little better than before. That night at dinner, I tell my parents I'm planning to move out when I turn 18. My mother's face goes pale and my father puts down his fork. I explain it's not because I'm angry anymore, but because I need space to figure out who I am outside this family. My sister says she understands, which surprises me. My mother looks like she wants to argue, but instead she asks where I'm thinking of going. I tell them I'm looking at apartments near the community college, and my father asks about money for rent and food. I explain I've been saving for 2 years and I have a plan. Then my mother says something that actually shocks me. She says they want to help with college expenses, that they'll support both me and my sister equally. I look at her face trying to figure out if she means it, and I think she actually does. My father agrees and says they've been talking about it since our family meeting. I tell them I'm skeptical, but I appreciate the offer. My mother nods like she expected that response and says they'll prove it over time. William invites me to dinner at his house the next weekend, and his family treats me like I've always been part of it. His mother Susan asks about my college plans, and his father talks to me about different career options. Ashlyn complains about her job at the ice cream shop, and William jokes with her about it. I watch them interact and see what a healthy family actually looks like. Susan pulls me aside after dinner and asks how things are going with my family. I tell her about the changes and the awkwardness and the slow progress. She says that's realistic, that families don't transform overnight. She says she's proud of me for setting boundaries while staying open to connection. William walks me to the bus stop later and says his family basically considers me an honorary member now. I tell him that means more than he probably realizes. I'm working toward being on my own while keeping a careful connection with my family. The favoritism hasn't disappeared completely. My sister still gets things handed to her that I have to work for. My parents still go easier on her than they do on me. But there's awareness now, and that's something. They notice when they're being unfair, and sometimes they even correct it. I bought myself a new phone case last week, one of those thick, protective ones that covers the whole phone. But I keep the crack underneath, the one my sister couldn't quite smash out with her hammer. I look at it sometimes when I unlock my phone and remember that I'm capable of standing up for myself, that I don't have to accept being invisible anymore. Things aren't perfect, but they're different, and different is better than what I had before.